To the left of the steering column, there is only a dimmer switch. Dimmer switch for the interior gauges. It also dims other lights as well. You can check that out in the night video. And it has a tilt and a telescoping steering column. You lock it in place here. I'm sitting in the driver's seat and I'm 6 feet tall. I have the driver's seat all the way down and all the way back to give you an idea of the potential legroom here. And it's slightly further back than what I would normally drive. So if you're 6'1", 6'2", shouldn't have any problem. It does have fairly good amount of legroom, more here on the left than the right. This is a hard touch surface, so if you find your leg, pressing up against it or whatever, then it's not super comfortable. But it seems like it's kind of dished out enough to where it's okay. So it has a leather wrap steering wheel, synthetic leather with the stitching here on the inside, kind of orange color stitching. And it has paddle shifters back here. It also has a lot of buttons. So here on the left side is the volume for the radio, the audio source, change to the tracks. You also have the ability to answer and hang up using the Bluetooth features here. And I like the way it has separate buttons here, so you can answer and then hang up. So that way it's not the same button. So when you're hanging up, you're not just answering another call that just happened to come in, that kind of thing. So that's handy. And then it has this little up and down right here, which corresponds to that little screen between the gauges there. We'll get to that in a second. Here on the right side is the cruise control. You turn it on, you set, change to the speed, and then you can cancel. And then this is once again, separate buttons to set the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. And I like that because a lot of other vehicles, you press the same button and it kind of cycles through the distance. And it's a little bit awkward, especially if you're kind of close to somebody and you don't want to, all of a sudden start slamming on the brakes or going too fast or whatever to get close to them. So this kind of you have more control having two separate buttons. And down here is the sport mode and then the intelligent drive mode. So basically they call it SI, and it just has this little graphic when it pulls up here on the screen showing you the SI curve basically. And what it does is it just kind of shows you that it's closer to the power band, or the area in which the engine has more torque, the RPM range anyway. So yeah, just sport and then just regular is what it really boils down to. And this is the button to turn on and off the lane keep assist, which is a little bit too aggressive. It kind of fights with you while you're driving, but it does work okay. But it has some issues. So we saw the paddle shifters. There's the windshield wipers for the front and back. Also the turn signal, and you also have the headlight switch. Fog lights are controlled here, and then you have off, automatic, parking, and then headlights. Now there's always some kind of external light on even when you put it on off, but it does have that off position. There is a reset the trip right here button. And then the gauges, pretty standard as far as traditional dial gauges here, physical tachometer, RPM gauge, engine coolant temperature. Here on the right is the speedometer and the fuel gauge. Now the right there in the center shows you what gear you're in, the trip, the odometer. It also shows some information there in the center, including a digital speedometer. But using this button to kind of go up and down, we can get a little bit more information just kind of scrolling up and down. You can see it gives us this is what it's saying, that the auto start feature kind of saves our gas. It's very, very tiny, but and I usually turn it off, the start feature. All right, this will show the tire pressure once you start driving, and then this is the compass, obviously, and this is what road you're on, which is not on a public road right now. No device connected. This will be your Bluetooth, and then this goes to your clock, and then the outside temperature, average miles per gallon, distance to empty, and then you can reset this independently. This is since you started the vehicle, basically. So yeah, you kind of scroll through and you can get more information here. It's not like a huge menu or anything, but it does give you additional information. So here's the touch screen. It does have some physical buttons around it. So this is your four-way flashers, volume for the radio, tune through the stations, front and rear defrosters, and then the temperatures. Those are physical buttons there. Everything else is controlled here on the screen. So it's kind of like 3 sections. You have this top section, this middle section, and then this bottom section. So you can see this top one, you can get different information here just by kind of swiping through. The X mode is the drive mode. So you have dirt, snow, deep snow, mud, normal for the all-wheel drive system. So you can have that separate. It does have the digital clock and the outside temperature here as well. And then the bottom part, you can see it's more static compared to the center part. So the center part moves separately. So you have little tiles, similar to like a cell phone, kind of quick shortcuts. Then you can go to your map. And you can make it a little bit bigger, just like that, but all it does is just show the sky when you're driving, so it's not a huge help, but it is a nice orientation having the screen this way, so you can see down the road a little bit further. You have different views. Let's kind of zoom out because there's not much to see right there. Alright, so now, so we can see what's going on. Zoom out once again. Zoom out once again. But this 3-dimensional view right here seems to be, you get the best view as far as down the road, and so you can see what's ahead and everything. Now you can do a search and search for different things. It has a full keyboard and everything. That's the nice thing about having a big screen like this. You can add a lot to it. Okay, so let's go to the home screen. So this is the home screen here. Look at the radio, see what it looks like. Alright, there's your presets there, and then you have AM, FM, satellite radio. Now this will be separate from the media, so the media will be here. This will be your cell phone, Bluetooth, USB, stuff like that. Auxiliary input as well. It does have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's another way of interacting with the screen. So your phone, and then you have different apps here. There's the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You also have Travel Link and then My Subaru, which is an app for your cell phone. Alright, we can look at the settings here. Quite a bit of settings. And there's general, sound settings, navigation settings. So it's kind of categorized. Phone settings, radio, car, that kind of thing. Alright, let's go back here. Now your phone settings, there's a shortcut here for it as well. Alright, so there's also basically shortcuts down here as well. It's vehicle control, the X mode, vehicle dynamics control, which is the traction control. Unless you want to spin tires, you want to leave that on. Default is on, so you can turn it off there. You can also go into driving assistance, and then you have additional settings here. And just below that is the climate control. So it just kind of gives you some information here, but as soon as you hit that, it pops it up, expands it up, and then you have the temperature, and then you have where you want the air to blow, the fan speed, and and you can also sync them as well right there. Sync the driver and passenger temperatures. So down here is where you'll find the auxiliary input, USB-C and USB-A charge and inputs. And then a wireless charge pad down here. Pretty good size. It's kind of rubbery as well. Here's the shifter. We'll put it in reverse. Since we have a nice big screen, we have a view behind you, but you notice it's not like taking advantage of the full screen. It's kind of still that widescreen view, but it is still good. And it does have the rear cross traffic alert and parking sensors as well, and what you can quickly access right there. Neutral, drive. Now if you want to use the paddle shifters, you just put it over here into manual mode, and you can have more control over the gear shifts. Heated seat has 2 stage, high and low, for the passenger and driver seats. This is just a blank button for now, and then this is electronic parking brake. Lift it up, it does have an on light. It engages the rear wheels. and then to disengage it, hold the brake and push it down to disengage it. So here's a cup holders, and pretty basic. They do have these little booster seats, I guess, that you can put in there for short cups or whatever, and then you can stack them if you need to. 12-volt power supply here. Here's the armrest, and it's fairly soft, nice and cushy soft. I don't feel any bottoming out. It has the stitching here as well. I don't know if this is big enough to share with the passenger, but it's nice and soft and comfortable. And this lifts up, and when you lift it up, it does snap down in place very solidly. And when you lift it up, when you release it, you can stop anywhere and it stays right put. It doesn't slap back down or anything. So it kind of stays wherever you let go of it, which is nice. That's as far back as it goes here. And then here's the storage compartment. Now there's no connectivity or anything in there, but it does have the ability to put wires in and out of the compartment for some reason. I guess if you put a device inside and you want to run the wire to this 12-volt power supply, I guess that would be handy. There's a little storage compartment there as well. The rearview mirror has a manual day and night mode. And you have some tap lights up here. Now if you want the lights to turn on with the door, you can have that on or off over here. Roadside assistance buttons here as well. These are for the sunroof. We'll get to that in a minute. The visor has like a vinyl covering over it, and it does match the headliner, which is a cloth material. It has a mirror with a light. A little extension here pops out, and a little place to put some papers or whatever there as well. Good for registrations, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's look at the sunroof. The sunroof has a shade that blocks 100% of the light, and so that's nice. Because some vehicles have like a translucent shade, and there's always some kind of light shining on you, and sometimes on a hot day you just want to block all the light. So I'm glad to see that. So this one is the tilt, this first one here, and the second one is the slide. So the tilt one, tilt up, tilt down, so separate button, and then the slide like so. Push it, it goes a little bit further back. Okay, so let's look at the visibility here in the back. This actually is pretty decent as far as the visibility. The pillars are not overly wide. It does have a little window to help out as well. Now the top kind of tapers down quite a bit, but you know, overall haven't had an issue any more than any other vehicle. Actually, it's pretty better than a lot of vehicles as far as visibility overall, especially considering it has the blind spot, rear cross traffic alert, parking sensors, and the camera system and all that stuff as well. So helps you out. So here we are on the highway going 75 miles per hour. RPMs are just below 2,000, so about 1,900 RPMs. And this is a fairly smooth road. There's a little tiny bit of wind noise, a little tiny bit of road noise, but overall really good. Now the lane keep assist system kind of fights a little bit with you. And what's interesting is when as you're driving, you tend to not want to fight with it, so you kind of ease off on trying to control the steering wheel and just kind of let it stay within the lanes. But then when you do that, then it tells you put your hands on the steering wheel, even though your hand is on the steering wheel. So it's a little frustrating sometimes, the lane keep assist system. But it does a pretty good job of keeping you in the lane. It just kind of fights with you a little bit. And it's able to follow one line. So right now it's showing, you can see these lines, and these lines are not very clear at all, but it's able to see them. But if it's just one line, it can just follow one line as well. But it will alert you if it's not able to see the lines and the system turns off. If you ever see the movie Maximum Overdrive from the 80s, this old Stephen King movie, this is the bridge, the drawbridge that was in the movie here in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's pretty interesting because it looks about the same as it did back then.